Good afternoon. As a little bit of a different video from what you've probably seen over the last few weeks, I was asked by James Martin of JayEmm on Cars if he could be of any assistance to me and a number of other people who run their automotive YouTube channels by offering his footage from his extensive archive free of charge to make videos that the rest of us who have these channels would wish to do so. And I'm very privileged to say that I have now got the footage and I've sent it over to be blended in with these pieces that I'm recording to camera by Mr. Richardson of Furious Driving. There's another reason why he's helping me out with that, which I'll explain a bit later. But yes, we're going to talk about the top 10 cars I would like to review on this channel. I know I've done a number of them. I've done about 40, but James has done so many more than me, and he's very, very good at it. I will link below in the description to the MG3 review which he did, which was the first YouTube collaboration I ever did, which was about a year ago. And yes, it's been brilliant, I think, to see what he's been getting up to, and I hope you enjoy this little, I suppose, list of the cars that I would most like to see on my channel that he's already reviewed. Let's start off with something very familiar indeed, which is the Rover 75 automatic. Now, I've driven an MG ZTT with the 2.5 litre KV6 engine, but although that was a very nice car, I hanker after a 75. It just needs that extra bit of wood and very nice cloth or leather in it. And it's a car that I would like to own, let alone review. So what one more needs to be said about that. The example that James got on his channel was actually really nice as well. It's not quite my colour. I prefer beige leather interior with a sort of dark green or dark blue exterior paint finish, but that's just me. Another car from much the same stable I would love to review on the channel is the MG ZS 180. Now, when James and Laurie Rose bought that car a few years ago for £525, it was probably the video that I first saw when introduced me to his channel. I know that's the case for a lot of you. It's still one of the most popular ones he has. I used to own a Mark II Rover 45, a 2004 model, which is a little bit later than this ZS 180. And I've actually owned a 1996 Rover 416 SLI automatic. So I've owned a similar car to this in two different ways. But that KV6 engine in the smaller body shell, my gosh, those things are monstrous, and I really, really want to try one. The car that Ian Seabrook had, the 45 2-litre V6 automatic, is okay. They're good, but this, of course, is got a manual gearbox and it's a bit faster with sharper suspension. So yes, I'd very much like to have a go in that myself too. Next, the Alfa Romeo I said. I don't know what really can be said about it more than what's already been said on the reviews I've seen of that car, but it's based on a 75 platform, and it's rear-wheel drive, and it's powered by a 3-litre V6 Busso engine. I've driven a car with a Busso engine in it, Mr. Coleman, Rubbish Mechanics' lovely 166, and you can't have enough Busso action in your life, can you? Very rare car, not many on the road. Typical Alfa quirks, of course, but absolutely beautiful, and yes, I'd like to review one very much indeed. Being a fan of the James Bond film series and also of Roger Moore and films like Spy You Love Me and For Your Eyes Only, how could I possibly resist the chance, if I were to get it, to review a Lotus Esprit Turbo? The one that James had on his channel, that one is the sort of later one. It was sort of the Pretty Woman kind of era, so about 89, 90, something like that. I think Peter Stevens did a redesign of that. and then Julian Thompson's later. I could be wrong about that, but absolutely I'd love to try a car that actually, yes, you know, in the previous life was used in a Bond series. If you've been watching my Cars on Television series on my YouTube channel, you will know that I'm a huge fan of series of the 60s and 70s in particular, and in a lot of those you see Peugeot 404s. There is one of those in the Baron, there's one in the new Avengers, there's one in Randall Hawkett Deceased, and I would love to drive a 404. I think they're very stylish looking cars. The older Peugeots don't have quite the same hate factor from me as the newer ones do. So yes, absolutely, I'd love to drive a 404. I think the Farina design that the Austin Cambridge and the Morris Oxford and cars like that had was nice, but I think the 404 is better. Another car from the new Avengers is the Renault 16. There is one in the new Avengers episode of Tadler Big Y, driven by the wonderful George A. Cooper, and it looks like a car that just is fascinating. You know, predecessors of Renault 20 and Renault 30, a day so when sort of Renaults were a bit quirky and actually quite well made, not known for rubbish electronics and terrible build quality. And you know, they did it before the Maxi. The Maxi in many ways is a similar car to the Renault 16, but some would argue Renault 16 is better. Obviously I'd like to try a Maxi and a Renault 16 and find out if that's the case. The Volvo V90 is one of the very few modern cars that I would just aspire to own immediately. I think it's got something to do with the fact that my mother had a 240 for so long, and we'll talk about that a bit later, but the V90 is just one of those cars that is almost sort of bucking the trend of these sort of SUVs and other things that are out there, and it's still got those wonderful traditional hallmarks of lots of space, very solid car. This one's even very stylish. They are a little bit on the expensive side, but you know, that's what you're paying for in terms of the quality, and I would love to drive one of those. Some of the most popular material on my channel is to do with 1970s and 1980s Fords, and having visited the 50th birthday of the Ford Capri last year at Brooklands, I would love to drive as many Capris as possible. Now, I do have a video on a Ford Capri Laser coming up at some point this year. That will be wonderful, but the Mark 1 3000E Capri that both Mr. Martin and Matt from Furious Driving have driven is astonishingly nice. I know Matt, that video did really well for him, and the footage you actually seen is not from James, actually from Matt, but it's not a problem, it's exactly the same car. But you know, I'd love to get my hands on one of those myself as well. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful car. This one was a pretty easy decision for me, and you know, because my mother had a 240 from 1990 to 2001, it would be hugely nostalgic for me to drive one, even a saloon. The estate would be my preference because that's what we had. But seeing that car and seeing just the fact it's owned by a younger person and seeing that actually they're not that expensive in that condition is interesting, because it means that possibly I might be able to own one myself. You know, knowing that actually this is something that has a lot of appeal to not just people who remember them, but actually in general with these older Volvos, and I find that fascinating. Last but not least, the Lotus Carlton. What could be said about this car that hasn't been said? They tried to ban the car from even existing. It's got an engine that's been, you know, modified in a crazy way. It's got a gearbox that went into a Corvette. It's only available in this beautiful kind of dark green, almost black colour. And, you know, the Vauxhall Omega that I tested on my channel back in February was wonderful. I think a Lotus Carlton might be in a whole league altogether. And yes, I'd have to be careful driving that, because, you know, it would be a tweed jacket review after all. But yes, that would be a wonderful car to do. So thank you ever so much indeed for joining me on this little different type of video on the top 10 cars that James Martin has tested and I would like to drive for myself. I do hope you enjoyed it, and obviously if you do own any of these cars or any type of car and you wish for me to review it for you, please get in touch via my website www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk, and there is a contact me tab on the front page there for you to get in touch with me directly. Or obviously if you wish me to source a car for you, then it's on there too. Thank you again to James from JayEmm on Cars for the footage, and Matt from Furious Driving for putting it together, and the Capri footage. Don't forget to look at their channels as well, obviously, because they've got some lovely cars they've done. My Facebook page is facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. I have an Instagram page too, which is just called Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching.